Time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe, and of course we always begin here at home, as the Nigerian military says its operations in the oil-rich Niger Delta had been responsible for the current improvement in oil production in the hitherto volatile part of the nation. Speaking during a defense correspondent's visit to the area of responsibility of Operation Delta Safe, General Officer Commanding 6th Division, Nigerian Army and Land Component Commander of the Joint Task Force South-South, Operation Delta Safe, Major General Emmanuel Emeka, said the improved security environment had enabled crude oil production to rebound to about 2.2 million barrels per day. The Army expressed confidence that prevailing security challenges across the country would soon be substantially reduced, citing sustained operations, interagency collaboration and community engagement. According to him, the military remains committed to supporting the federal government's target of achieving daily production of 3 million barrels by 2027. Emeka stated that security threats in the Niger Delta had declined drastically, allowing residents of riverine communities to resume fishing and other economic activities without fear. Now to the political scene, where former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has warned his supporters to stop verbal attacks against presidential hopeful Peter Obi, saying such attacks undermine opposition unity and do not serve the interest of Nigeria or its people. Atiku made the remark yesterday in an X post while reacting to rising exchanges among supporters of opposition leaders. The former Vice President added that such internal divisions within the opposition camp only benefited the ruling APC. Atiku's advice on opposition unity came as All Progressives Congress, the APC Committee on Strategy, Conflict Resolution and Mobilization, said it would adopt proactive measures and solutions to existing and potential threats within the ruling party in its conflict resolution approach. The committee, led by Governor of Yobe State, Mai Mala Buni, gave the assurance on Monday night in Abuja during its inaugural meeting. Meanwhile, convener of League of Northern Democrats Umar Ardo yesterday said Obi did not stand any chance of getting the presidential ticket of the new opposition coalition, African Democratic Congress, ahead of the 2027 general election unless Atiku stepped down. Now, the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Kabiru Turaki, is insisting that the presidential ticket of the party would emerge from the southern part of the country in line with its zoning policy. Turaki says this during a consultative visit by the National Working Committee and the Board of Trustees to former Vice President Namadi Sambo in Abuja. The PDP chairman, in a veiled response to the former PDP National Secretary Samuel Anyawu's withdrawal of his case before the Abuja court, said the action further validates the Ibadan National Convention, which brought him and 20 others to office last year.
When some judges, who are judges of particular concern, had recently given judgments dabbling into issues they ordinarily should not dabble into, and giving judgments, as it were, that cannot be rationalized by whatever level of argument you want to advance, if anything, trying to smear the name of the judiciary as an impartial institution, which is the last hope of the common man. The judgment of Justice Umar today had vindicated us in PDP that, yes, we are the genuine leaders of PDP, had vindicated us that, yes, our convention was legitimately done, had vindicated us that, indeed, people cannot just go in one corner and then begin to ascribe to themselves that the leadership of a political party. This is not a market association, neither is it an association of shoe shiners. This is a political party, and there must be discipline.
All right, now from politics, we look at security, as the identities of the 177 persons kidnapped from the ECWA Church and Cherubim and Seraphim Churches 1 and 2 at Kurman Wali community in Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State on Sunday have been revealed. The list paints a harrowing picture of entire families taken away from their homes and places of worship, leaving the community traumatized and virtually empty of able-bodied residents. The raid came barely a week after the same community paid 2.6 million naira ransom to secure the release of 20 residents previously abducted. Analysis of the 177 names obtained revealed that entire households were abducted. Families such as the Jonathan household had 12 members kidnapped, the Amos family 13, Marcus Makudi 10, Ishaya and Danisa 7 family members each, Bawa family 6, Danjuma and Musa families 5 family members each respectively. Other families saw 4, 3 or 2 members taken away. The oldest victim is 71-year-old Augustina Matthew, while the youngest, Salvation Idris, is a child of 6. Other children include Likita Amos, 6, Jumota Idris, 7, Tessie Amos, 8, Yahaya Joshua, 9, and several 10-year-olds, including Susanna Idris, Sintha Amos, Heziba and Hezekiah Jonathan. Those are the latest developments from that particular issue. Rufai, if you remember, initially there had been a denial that this kidnapping had taken place. Now we have identities of those who are missing.
So when we say Nigeria happened, I'm sure some people will go mad by saying Nigeria happened, but Nigeria happens to all of us one way or the other when you have a denial. Prior to this case, don't forget, Reverend Archie's wife was just recently released. 2 million ransom was paid. There was another kidnapping that happened around there, I think on that same morning. Cumulatively, there's a demand for over 150 million ransom. And when this happened, the security forces, the Christian missions that went in there, said they saw the security forces coming out with the local government chairman. And it was said that the villagers were told to deny what happened. The police even came out denying. I mean, in what country on earth does a kidnapping happen and the state try to play politics and deny it? And thanks to the people that stood firm and had to release the names of those kidnapped in Cherubim Church 1 and 2 and Ekwa. And guess what? Most of these churches have affiliations with charity organizations in America. They know what has happened. So when we try to spin and say it's one screwdriver seller somewhere that is writing all the reports, I'm sure they know what is happening, because the Christian mission that first went on site and on the scene have affiliations all around the world. And that's the sad reality of this country. The fact that people try to play politics with human lives. They've kidnapped people. How can we get them out? So I know the state government now will start the song and dance. This kidnapping is going on the heels of the fact that they just negotiated with the same bandits or criminals. So can you see that the negotiation with the bandits, that former CDS Musa was correct and the defense minister was correct? And the negotiation with the bandits does not work? And the state tried as much as possible to cover this, which is a shame on all of us all. So when I say Nigeria happened, and people say, oh, we shouldn't talk like that, but it's the true reality, and we keep being brutally honest. Please, we'd like to call on the government to ensure that those people come back home. As regards the giant stride made in the Niger Delta, yes, we have seen some stride made as regards nipping in the bud the activities of saboteurs, those that destroy our pipelines and all of that. And in all regards, I'm going to give due commendation to the military. But there are still a lot of matters pending in that region that we have not sorted out. If you remember the issue that happened around Delta states where people were killed, those matters have not been sorted out largely. Those matters were just swept under the carpets. Only God knows what transpired. So, and the last part of it, I mean, you expect military spokesperson to be able to toot their horn and say what they are doing. But the part I don't get is that when did the military start becoming a UPRC that tells us that crude oil production went to 2.2 million barrels? And based on the stats, maybe the military can correct me, or NUPRC, the average production was about 1.4 in December. In fact, I think it was 1.422 in December. I think it was 1.43 something in November. So where did that military officer saw 2.2 million barrels? Because when I saw that, at first I cleaned my eye again and I looked, 2.2 million barrels. Nigeria don't better be that. We don't hit target be that. Please, everybody should stay within their bounds. As for Atiku Abubakar, the truth has to be said. Yes, it is good to call for party unity. I don't believe in bickering among political opponents. I think people should face the fact of what you're going to do. But the point raised by Ado is very correct. The ADC will have to prove us wrong. I think there's going to be an impending implosion in the ADC. Because whoever emerges, others too that want the same ticket as the presidential candidate will want to go and look for opportunities elsewhere. And it's just only pure and simple. So that implosion might still probably be on the way, except the ADC prove us wrong. And I will want to be proven wrong. It's going to be a double delight for me to be proven wrong. But currently on ground, based on the empirical facts I see, everybody, Amechi is jostling for it. There are still going to be other major contenders also jostling for it. There is Peter Obi in the fray. A lot of people are saying, no, it's a fait accompli for Atiku already. He's saying, oh, no, I have to compete effectively. But that's why I sense the implication. But if they can come together, maybe it might be the rallying point, but time will tell. They will have to prove us wrong on that.
Okay, let me first deal with the military through the general in charge of Operation Delta Safe, they call it. That's Major General Eneka, saying that because of the activities of Operation Delta Safe, they've been able to ensure smooth operation in the Niger Delta region, and that since January 24, 2025, he put a date to it, that there has been no pipeline vandalism for more or less a whole year now, and that Nigeria has been able to increase its production to 2.2 million barrels per day. However, two questions. The bona fide of the military general to even talk in this regard. Where was the Nigerian military at the time the Nigerian government decided to secure the services of independent security operators, namely, in this case, the Tantita Security Services? Now, Tantita Security Services was engaged as a result of the abdication of responsibility, inefficiency of the state authorities. And that was why the Nigerian government decided to go to, private operators. It seems to me, therefore, that the more important information that can be given in this regard is not the Nigerian military. We would like to hear what the private contractors would say in terms of how that region is safe. Now, the second point is about this 2.2 million that General Eneka is claiming. Now, 2.2 million barrels per day. But we are not meeting OPEC quota. We are not meeting OPEC quota. So there's also that discrepancy that indicates that this may just be propaganda on the part of the Nigerian army, claiming credit for perhaps what it knows nothing about. I think on this particular subject, we would all be on terra firma if the military is ready to provide information in terms of daily production schedule and what is achieved, what is exported. So in other words, there are gray areas that General Eneka did not address that makes whatever submissions he has made on this issue of safety, oil theft, and operations in the Niger Delta come across as propaganda. Now, Atiku Abubakar, with regard to the ADC, says that persons should stop criticizing Mr. Peter Obi and other players within the ADC who are seeking the presidential position of that platform. Yes, well, talking like a statesman, he seems to be saying the right thing. However, he accuses the APC. He says the APC bandits, he calls them. APC bandits, he calls them. And he says, oh, those ones are the ones working very hard to sustain a satanic status quo. He himself was sounding almost like the people he was trying to admonish. But the main person who made the point against Mr. Peter Obi is a gentleman called Umar Ado, who is the convener of the National Democratic League. And his simple point is that Peter Obi stands no chance, to the extent that the only way he can become the presidential candidate of the ADC, African Democratic Congress, is if Atiku steps down. In other words, Umar Ado is an apologist. He's a supporter of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. And therefore, it makes sense for the principal who is being promoted to step in and say, no, we do not want this kind of politics within the party, because there are other contenders. Apart from Atiku Abubakar, you have Mr. Amechi, Rotimi Amechi, former governor, former speaker of Rivers State, former Minister of Transportation, who is interested. You have Senator David Mark, the chairman of the party, who is also reportedly interested in the position of presidential candidacy of the ADC. You also have Nasir El-Rufai, former governor of Kaduna State. However, what this means is that we should expect a battle royale as the ADC goes forward with its party primaries. I think the party primaries will come up May, June. However, the point that is established is that Mr. Peter Obi is an asset to the party, as his own supporters have also, admitted and have also put out in terms of, what their own position is. So we look forward to see the kind of politics that will be played in the ADC going forward. Finally, the Federal High Court Abuja, the Court of Justice Mohammed Umar, has now ruled that Senator Samuel Anyanwu, that his case cannot stand. In other words, he went to the court and said he is the National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, or that Umar Damagum should not engage in any correspondence without him. Now, on the surface of it, the matter had been rendered academic by the convention of the PDP in Ibadan in November, by the fact that Umar Damagum is no longer chairman of the party, and by the fact that Samuel Anyanwu himself, his tenure expired in December. Now the PDP is now saying the candidate for their presidency must come from the south, where that makes pragmatic sense politically. If they are going to challenge a sitting southern president, then of course their candidate cannot come from anywhere else. However, it's unfortunate that in Nigerian politics, there's always these ethnic and regional calculations.
All right, okay, where can I pick up from? With limited time, I think I pick up in Kaduna State with the confirmation of the abduction of a number of families and the unfortunate details that continue to unravel around this incident. That's beyond the fact that it was first denied. Now, the police have come to speak out and said, well, they initially had denied that this event had taken place because they wanted to ensure that all their facts were gathered before going to the public. But it's unfortunate because we're always talking about the breakdown of trust between state and populace. And these are some of the events that lead to the breakdown of loss of credibility, loss of integrity. When an event happens, how is it managed? How is the information around it managed? The event is said to have, the abduction is said to have taken place at 11 a.m. in the morning. They report that the report only reached the police at 5 p.m. later that evening. Some Christian missionaries in the area say that they tried to access the village, but they were blocked by the military. Those are their own witness accounts. And they're saying that had the necessary authorities taken the right action at the right time, that a number of those abducted could have been stopped from being abducted, that they could have stopped those assailants who came on motorcycles and some of them on foot. So I do plead with all involved that let truth and fact lead, but ultimately let action also be taken to return these vulnerable individuals back home. I have 30 seconds left. In that, I'll quickly touch on social media and the role that it's going to play moving forward in politics. We often refer to bots on social media. Bots being unverified accounts which are computerized and which just churn out information. So we see political loyalists, whether it be loyal to Atiku or loyal to Obi, going at each other on social media. However, there's a deeper theory that has been unraveled, that owners of social media platforms have gotten better at dealing with bots. You no longer have sort of these computer-generated, characters who are churning out content. What you have is a phenomenon called buzz. So there are now buzzers, this is how they're identified, which are social media accounts belonging to individuals who have a limited number of following, maybe up to 100 at best. However, they are directly influenced by political influencers. So now we have to question the role of political influencers moving forward and how they are shaping the narratives, the discuss, and even the relations between political players as we count down to 2027. We saw what transpired in 2023 and how toxic that space became. The question is, will the political influencers and those who are their paymasters show restraint as we head to 2027? Unfortunately, I can't touch on NNPC. Hopefully it's on one of the, oil output. Hopefully it's on one of the front pages later during newspaper review.